Sophie loved her room. It was filled with toys and books, sunlight and shadows. One day her father brought home a gift, a beautiful porcelain mannequin. He placed it in the corner, its elegant hand outstretched. Sophie named her Stella. Sophie talked to Stella. She confided secrets she wouldn't tell anyone else. Stella, with her painted smile and glass eyes, seemed to listen. One morning Sophie noticed something strange. Stella's hand was in a different position. Sophie frowned. Had it always been like that? Sophie shrugged. Maybe it was just her imagination. The changes became more noticeable. One day Stella's head was tilted at a new angle. Another day her porcelain fingers seemed to be curled differently. Sophie began to feel uneasy. The room felt different, colder. Sophie's toys seemed to watch Stella too. Their painted eyes, usually cheerful, seemed to hold a hint of fear. Sophie started leaving the lights on at night. One night Sophie woke to a strange sound. It was a night like any other, the kind where the world outside was silent, and the only noise was the occasional creak of the house settling. But this night was different. Sophie's eyes fluttered open, her heart already racing as if it knew something she didn't. She lay still, straining her ears to catch the faintest hint of the noise that had disturbed her slumber. It was a soft whisper, like the rustle of silk. Her heart pounded. The sound was so delicate, so subtle that it almost seemed like a figment of her imagination. But there it was again, a gentle murmur that sent shivers down her spine. She clutched her blanket tighter, her mind racing with possibilities. Was it the wind, a dream, or something more sinister lurking in the shadows of her room? She peeked out from under the covers. The room seemed unchanged, bathed in the soft glow of moonlight filtering through the window, yet the air felt charged, as if it held secrets waiting to be unveiled. Sophie's eyes darted around, searching for the source of the whisper. Her breath was shallow, each inhale and exhale a testament to her growing fear. The room was bathed in moonlight. Stella was gone. Sophie gasped. The window was open. The realization hit her like a cold wave. Stella, her beloved mannequin, was no longer in her usual spot. Panic surged through her veins as she scanned the room, her eyes finally landing on the open window. The curtains fluttered gently, as if waving at her in mockery. The curtains billowed in the night breeze. They moved with a life of their own, casting eerie shadows on the walls. Sophie's mind raced with questions. How had the window opened? Where was Stella? And what was that whispering sound that had woken her? She felt a chill run down her spine, the kind that made her want to hide under the covers and never come out. A shadow moved in the corner. It was subtle, almost imperceptible. But Sophie saw it. Her eyes widened in terror as she realized that the shadow was not just a trick of the light. It was real, and it was moving. She could feel its presence, a dark, foreboding entity that seemed to watch her every move. Sophie jumped out of bed and ran to the corner. Her feet barely touched the ground as she sprinted towards the source of the shadow. Her heart pounded in her chest, each beat echoing in her ears like a drum. She had to know what was happening. She had to find Stella. There was Stella, bathed in moonlight, her porcelain hand outstretched as if beckoning. The sight was both familiar and terrifying. Stella's usually lifeless eyes seemed to glint with a strange light, and her hand, always so still, was now reaching out towards Sophie. It was as if the mannequin was alive, calling her, drawing her closer. Sophie's breath caught in her throat. She stood frozen, unable to move, unable to look away. The room seemed to close in around her, the shadows growing darker, the whispering louder. She felt a sense of dread, a fear so deep that it rooted her to the spot. This was no trick of the light. Stella was moving. The mannequin's hand slowly lowered and her head turned ever so slightly towards Sophie. It was a sight that defied logic, a moment that shattered the boundary between reality and nightmare. Sophie knew then that her life would never be the same. The next night Sophie pretended to be asleep. She waited, her heart pounding. Then, slowly, Stella began to move. She stepped away from the wall, her porcelain limbs moving with a grace no mannequin should possess. Sophie watched, mesmerized as Stella began to dance. She glided across the floor, her movements fluid and elegant, a silent waltz in the moonlight. Sophie sat up in bed, her fear forgotten, replaced by wonder. This was magic, pure and simple. Sophie knew she had to find out more. The next morning, Sophie searched the house. She found an old, dusty trunk in the attic. Inside were her grandmother's things, faded photographs, yellowed letters, and a beautiful silk scarf embroidered with silver thread. Sophie picked up the scarf. A small, folded piece of paper fell out. Sophie unfolded it carefully. It was a sketch of a mannequin, identical to Stella. Below the sketch in elegant handwriting was a single word: Serafina, Sophie's grandmother's name. This wasn't just any mannequin, this was Serafina, and Sophie was determined to uncover her secrets. Sophie took the sketch to the old tailor in the village. She had heard whispers about his extraordinary skills and the magical stories that surrounded his work. The village was small, and everyone knew each other, but the tailor was a figure of mystery and intrigue. His shop, nestled between the bakery and the bookshop, had an air of enchantment about it. The windows were adorned with intricate lace curtains, and the doorbell chimed a soft, melodic tune whenever someone entered. Sophie had always been curious about the tailor, and today, she finally had a reason to visit him. He looked at the drawing, his eyes widening. "Ah, Serafina," he whispered. The name seemed to carry a weight of history and emotion. Sophie watched as the old man's hands trembled slightly, his fingers tracing the lines of the sketch with a reverence that spoke of deep connection. It was as if the drawing had unlocked a floodgate of memories, and the tailor was momentarily lost in a world long past. He told Sophie a tale of a talented seamstress, his own grandmother, who poured her heart into creating the most beautiful mannequin the world had ever seen. Her name was Serafina, and she was not just a seamstress but an artist, a visionary. She had a gift for bringing fabric to life, and her creations were sought after by people from far and wide. But Serafina was not content with mere beauty. She wanted to create something truly extraordinary, something that would transcend the ordinary and touch the realm of the magical. She wanted to give it life, the old man said, his voice trembling, and so she wove a bit of magic, a moonbeam's thread, into its heart. This thread was no ordinary thread. It was imbued with the essence of the moon, a celestial light that had the power to animate the inanimate. Serafina worked tirelessly night after night, under the moon's gentle glow, weaving her dreams and hopes into the mannequin. The process was arduous, but she was driven by a vision that only she could see. He looked at Sophie, his eyes filled with tears. The old man's voice quivered as he spoke of the sacrifices his grandmother had made, the nights she spent alone in her workshop, the toll it took on her health. But Serafina was relentless, driven by a passion that consumed her. She believed that her creation would one day change the world, that it would be a testament to the power of love and magic. But magic has its price. The old man's tone grew somber as he recounted the consequences of Serafina's actions. The moonbeam's thread, while powerful, was also unpredictable. It bound the mannequin to the moon's cycles, and with each passing night, the enchantment grew stronger, but so did the risks. Serafina knew that she was treading a fine line between creation and destruction, but she was willing to pay the price for her dream. Serafina could only move under the moon's light. The mannequin named Stella came to life only when bathed in the moon's ethereal glow. During the day she was a lifeless figure, but at night she danced with a grace and beauty that was otherworldly. Serafina watched in awe as her creation moved, a living testament to her skill and determination. But this gift came with a curse, for Stella was forever bound to the night. She was forever bound to the night. The old man's voice was heavy with sorrow as he spoke of the limitations of the enchantment. Stella could never experience the warmth of the sun, the vibrant colors of the day. She was a creature of the night, her existence tied to the moon's phases. Serafina's heart ached for her creation, but she knew that this was the price of her ambition. Sophie listened, her heart pounding. The story had captivated her, and she felt a deep connection to Serafina and Stella. She could sense the love and sacrifice that had gone into their creation, and she was filled with a sense of wonder and admiration. The old man's tale had opened her eyes to a world of magic and possibility, and she knew that she would never look at the tailor's shop the same way again. So Stella, or rather Serafina, was real. She was magical. Sophie's mind raced with the implications of the story. She realized that the mannequin in the shop window was not just a display piece but a living, breathing entity, a testament to the power of love and magic. The old man's tale had transformed her understanding of the world, and she felt a renewed sense of purpose and inspiration. The tailor's shop, once a place of mystery, had become a beacon of hope and wonder. That night Sophie waited for the moon to rise. She had heard the stories countless times, tales whispered by her grandmother about the magical mannequin named Serafina. As the moonlight began to filter through the window, Sophie felt a mix of excitement and trepidation. She had always wondered if the stories were true, if Serafina would indeed come to life under the moon's gentle glow. When Serafina began to move, Sophie didn't hide. She watched in awe as the mannequin's joints seemed to loosen, and her movements became fluid and lifelike. It was as if a spell had been cast, bringing the porcelain figure to life. Sophie's heart raced, but she stood her ground, determined to see this magical moment through. She stepped into the moonlight, feeling its cool touch on her skin. The room seemed to shimmer with an ethereal glow, and Sophie felt a connection to something ancient and powerful. She knew this was a moment she would never forget, a moment that would change her life forever. Serafina paused, her porcelain face tilted in curiosity. Her eyes, though unblinking, seemed to hold a depth of emotion that Sophie had never noticed before. It was as if Serafina was seeing her for the first time, recognizing her as someone important, someone who belonged to this magical legacy. Sophie held out the silk scarf, the one embroidered with silver thread. This scarf had been a gift from her grandmother, a token of their shared bond and the stories that had been passed down through generations. As she extended it toward Serafina, she felt a sense of purpose, of destiny. Serafina's porcelain hand reached out, her fingers brushing the delicate fabric. The touch was gentle, almost reverent, as if she understood the significance of the scarf. It was more than just a piece of cloth. It was a symbol of the connection between the past and the present, between Sophie and her grandmother. A soft sigh, like the whisper of the wind, filled the room. It was a sound that seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere, a gentle breath that carried with it the weight of countless memories and emotions. Sophie felt a shiver run down her spine, but it was not from fear. It was a sigh of contentment, of recognition. It was a sigh of contentment, of recognition. Sophie understood. In that moment she realized that Serafina was more than just a magical being. She was a legacy, a piece of her grandmother's heart and soul, brought to life by the power of the moon and the love that had been passed down through the generations. Serafina wasn't just a magical being, she was a legacy, a piece of her grandmother's heart. The stories her grandmother had told were not just fairy tales, they were a part of their family history, a testament to the magic that flowed through their bloodline. Sophie felt a deep sense of responsibility, knowing that she was now the keeper of this legacy, and now, she was Sophie's to protect. Sophie vowed to honor her grandmother's memory and to cherish the magical gift that had been entrusted to her. She knew that her life would never be the same, but she welcomed the change with open arms, ready to embrace the magic and the legacy that had been passed down to her. From that night on, Sophie and Serafina were inseparable. They danced in the moonlight, the room filled with laughter and the rustle of silk. Sophie learned about her grandmother's life through Serafina's silent stories. She learned about her grandmother's love for dance, for beauty, for life itself. Serafina, once a source of fear, became a source of comfort, a magical link to the past, a friend who truly understood. Years passed. Sophie grew older. She never forgot the magic she shared with Serafina. They continued to dance under the moon's soft glow, their bond unbreakable, their friendship a testament to the enduring power of love, family, and a little bit of magic. The room, once filled with shadows and whispers, was now filled with light and laughter, a testament to the enduring power of friendship, even between a girl and a porcelain mannequin brought to life by a moonbeam's thread. The end.